Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Lorenzo. I'm a senior principal engineer with Comcast, and I'd like to tell you why heart-polymer. First, Comcast, for those who are from the UK, is the largest cable TV and internet service provider in the US. They have 30 million customers, a Fortune 50 company. They own NBC Universal, which is coming out with the new Fast and Furious movie. I'm excited about it. They're actually pretty entertaining. And we have over 500 polymer components in production. A little bit more about me. I've been married for 5 years. I've been with SIM, which is Comcast Interactive Media, for 10 years. And I've been a front-end developer for 16 years. So I really like long-term relationships, which is odd on the front end. And my wife and I have a son and daughter, Theo and Josie. They're adorable. And I'm from Philadelphia. Comcast is headquartered in Philadelphia, for the people from the UK. It's about an hour-and-a-half train ride from here. Don't drive in, because it's like an hour and a half to get here and then a half an hour to get into New York City. And Comcast actually has the Comcast Center, which is on the left. That's the building that I currently work in. The new building is the Technology and Product Center. It's currently under construction. That's all for technologists and product people. So we're all going to be moving in there when it's done at the end of the year, early next year. And my group works on a lot of different projects. The Xfinity Portal is a Ruby on Rails site that actually serves a few million unique visitors a day. Next, we have the My Account site, which is written in Angular, which allows customers to manage their account. The Xfinity Home site is the first Google Polymer site that we wrote. That was like 2.5 years ago. It's written in 0.3 is what we started with. And this is for home security and automation. Our latest Google Polymer site, which is not even out yet, is XFi. This allows our customers to manage their internet and set up parental controls, which is really exciting. If you have kids. My kids aren't on the internet yet, but. And then lastly, we have the X1 platform, which is the premier cable television viewing experience. And it's the same on all devices. But if you use our website, that's also written in Google Polymer. So since this is a lead developer conference, I want to talk a little bit about my coding journey. Again, I've been coding for 16 years. And I just wrote down a whole bunch of languages and frameworks and things that I've touched in over my course of my life. And I like to talk a little bit about my programming skill. And when you first start off as a developer, you kind of like quickly increase your skill set because you're learning so many new things and everything's really new to you. But eventually you reach this point where you plateau and you kind of go flat because you're already experienced, you're doing the same thing for a long time. And you start to ask the bigger questions, which is, how do I build an app? How do I maintain an app? And that's especially important for us as we have sites in production that will stay out there for multiple years. And sometimes you wonder, which way should you go? And my son's really good at that. He just says, that way, Dad, and we go that way. And it's really hard. Like, it's really hard to make these decisions. And that's kind of why, on the front end, we love these frameworks. And, a lot of these are very popular because as long as you follow the path that they set up for you, you pretty much finish with an app. But there's like always obstacles in the path, and you never, ever want to leave the path because that's really dangerous. And the problem becomes that no one knows how to structure a front-end application. I've worked in this industry for years, and best practices are never taught. Instead, libraries are taught. jQuery, Angular, Backbone. And really, as front-end developers or developers in general, we want to increase our skill level. And in order to do that, when we pick up these libraries or languages, we really have to figure out what they're trying to teach us. And for me, my skill level really improved when I picked up Polymer. But for others, you could have played with Angular or React, or if you're a middleware person, you could have learned something else. I don't know. And the reason on the front end, like all these frameworks are basically the same. They're all about building reusable components. In fact, with React, the only thing you do is build components. Since they're so encapsulated, components make code reuse, testing, and separation of concerns easy. That's why React is so popular. And for me, that was really like the light bulb moment, understanding this component stuff. Because in computer science, there's all these really cool technical terms: encapsulation, composition, separation of concerns, decoupling, functional decomposition. They sound really cool to say. Whew. And they're really just trying to tell you to decouple all the things, And the reason you want to do that is because simplicity matters. Rich Hickey gives this talk, and he describes an application like an elephant. You know, when you start off your application, it's small, it's easy to add new features, but eventually it grows up into this huge elephant. And when you want to add a new feature, is it like trying to make an elephant move? When really you want a software that looks like this, which is built to small blocks, decoupled. You can easily add new features on or swap features out because they're all components. And that is why I love Polymer. Because Polymer is all about building components. And in fact, they come with a whole bunch of components out of the box. This is the material design components. You can download any one of these and use it. When was the last time you wrote a dialog box? There's a paper dialog element. There's a component for that. That's like their keyword. And you just import this one component, put it on the page, and you get a dialog. And you're probably wondering, how is that any different than all these other frameworks? Aren't they all component-based stuff? I'm glad you asked. Well, first, it's the Polymer project. And it's not a framework. It's a library, just like React, I know. But the Polymer library sprinkles a bit of sugar over the standard Web Components API, making it easier for you to get great results. And it's this Web Components API which separates Polymer from all the other frameworks that you used before on the web. Web components are low-level primitives that let you define your own HTML elements, such as heart-polymer, without a framework. That's right, Josie, without a framework. And there's actually 4 specs in this web component sphere, and you can use these each individually: custom elements, templates, HTML imports, and shadow DOM. Custom elements allows you to name your own tags. Templates allows you to put inert markup into HTML so it doesn't get processed by the browser. HTML import is a good way to bundle up your components. It allows you to include HTML markup, CSS, and JavaScript in one file. And the shadow DOM gives you true encapsulation for your components, so you don't have to worry about your styles messing up another component on the page. And Chrome already has all these APIs built in. If the browser doesn't have it, there's polyfills available. Firefox is currently in development. Safari just released Shadow DOM with the Safari 10 release. 10.1 will include custom elements. And Microsoft Edge, well, it's the #1 voted for feature. And of course, they start implementing service workers first. I don't know why you even vote for stuff. Thank you, Microsoft. But the reason that this is important is because you want to eliminate the frameworks and you want to get closer to the metal. And this is extremely important as we're building these front ends that have to work really well on mobile browsers, because mobile processors are not that fast and powerful as desktop. And if you're downloading a whole framework to load your site, it's going to be really slow and painful. And that's why the Polymer motto is to use the platform to build a better web. The Polymer team has spent time working with all the browsers to get these APIs added to the browsers. They spent the last 3 years working on the specs, talking to the browser teams, pushing them to implement it. And they're really trying to build up the web platform so that we can take what we're doing with the frameworks and make the browser do it for us. And the best part is you don't have to use the Polymer library. You can use web components independent of the Polymer library. And web components are made to be interoperable with all the other frameworks that currently exist. So you can create a component that works with everything. For instance, on all of our sites, which I showed you in the beginning, see how I'm bringing this back around? We have this universal nav. And this universal nav, I just spent the time to rewrite it as a custom element. So for all of our other sites to include it, they just have to load that one script tag, and then they get a tag xcheader, which they can put on the page. And they can add attributes to the tag to customize it. And that same script tag also includes a footer component, because we have the same universal footer. Why wouldn't we, right? A header and footer. Makes sense. And they get that tag as part of that script, too. And this is only like 13 kilobytes for this entire thing, which is pretty impressive. So that was the high-level overview of web components. If you're interested in finding out more about that or Polymer, I have lots of other talks on the matter. Feel free to check them out. Thank you for your time.